Welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 209 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Please hit that like button down below and hit the post notification bell so you don't miss a future video from Legacy Politics. We are here. It is Monday, November 2nd here. One day away, guys. We are one day away from the election, and what better thing to do on the day before the election than have all of your final projections on what the night is going to look like. But before we get to those here on this Monday edition, first I want to invite you to subscribe to my Twitter account at Legacy Politics, as that's where most of your election information will be coming from tomorrow night as we watch the results come in. And also follow me on Instagram at Legacy Politics as well, as also that is where a lot of your information will be coming into on election night. So today, November 2nd, one day away from the most important election in our lifetime. Guys, it's going to be crazy. I don't even know. I can say my projections, but a lot of people just really don't know. CNN last night was freaking out saying that Trump actually has a chance to win this thing. And Fox News was freaking out because Biden actually has a shot to win this thing. So today we're going to be doing all of that. We're going to be going our last predictions here on Legacy Politics before the 2020 election tomorrow. You'll please once again follow my Twitter page, because that's where you're going to be seeing most of the election results and analysis from me, and my Instagram page at Legacy Politics. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's going to be a pretty long video because we're going to be going through all three projections. We're going to be going through the House projection, the Senate projection, and the presidential projection. But don't worry, we'll be taking breaks in between them, kind of like a podcast, but at the same time, it's kind of like a video podcast. So, looking forward to it. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing this get up, it's because it's my final projection. So why not look nice for it as we are finally here? So, I hope you enjoy your Monday edition of Legacy Politics.
These are the forgotten men and women of our country. And they are forgotten, but they're not going to be forgotten long. These are people who work hard, but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
So the question for us is simple. Are we ready? I believe we are. We must be. You know, all elections are important. But we know in our bones this one is more consequential.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
Here now on our final projections from Legacy Politics. As you see, we're at 209 subscribers. Thank you so much. But we're going to dive right into these projections as we start with the House of Representatives. Right now, Democrats 230 to 181. The Republicans probably don't have a great shot at flipping the House, but I do think that they'll flip a couple of seats. So we're going to go state by state here, starting in Alabama. I don't really see anything changing here in Alabama. Looking pretty good for all the incumbents there in Alabama, so no change there. Alaska could be close. Don Young has been there for a long time, but I do think that the Republican turnout in this election is just going to be great, and I think that Alaska is going to stay in the Republican column. As for Arizona, as we do see one or two maybe possible flip states, as we look at David Schwerwick, I can never say his name right. It's going to be close. It's going to go down right to the wire, and I do think the Democrats are going to flip that seat. It's going to be very, very close. David could probably win by the skin of his teeth, but right now, I just don't see it, and I think the Democrats are going to flip that seat into the Republican column. Now, as we look in the state of Arkansas, we don't really see any change here. I think it's going to pretty much stay the same there. But in California, we'll see a good bit of states or seats to flip, starting with Mike Garcia. I think Mike Garcia is going to hold there in his seat. T.J. Cox, I think he's going to hold in his seat. Now, T.J. Cox is, I'm actually going to change. I think that David Valadao can actually win that seat. It's going to be close, but I think that he can flip that seat. T.J. Cox is just not the same candidate as he was in 2019 when he won the seat, and I just think that Valdo will flip that seat. Young Kim, I think he's going to upset Gil Cisneros. There's so many weird names, I can never say them right. But anyways, Young Kim is doing really well, and believe it or not, and I think he's going to flip that seat there in California, and for the rest of the state's pretty much going to stay the same there in California. So the Republicans are already gaining some seats. We're not going to really see any change here in any of these states. Florida, you can tell me, you could see a flip in Florida here in Jimenez, and especially in Miami, because Republican turnout in the presidential election is looking great in Miami, but I'm just going to keep it as the same. I don't really see anything happening there. The next flip I really see happening is in Illinois. Nothing really else changing. But in the 13th district, I really think that Rodney Daves is going to pull it off there, probably by a likely margin. Actually, I think he's going to do very well in his turnout, and he will hold on to that seat in the state of Illinois. In the state of Indiana, I do think that Susan Brooks will hold on to her seat, probably by a likely margin. I don't really see Christina Hale doing much there in Indiana to hold, but I do think that the Republicans do hold that seat in the state of Indiana. In Iowa, I really think a lot of people think the Republicans can flip one of these seats here, and I really think that Ashley Hinson will flip the seat to red in this election. There's not going to be that many people voting for Biden in Iowa. It's just not a good state for looking for Biden. President Trump won this by 3.5% in 2016, and I really think with the endorsement of Hinson, I think that Hinson will flip the 1st district in Iowa and gain a seat for the Republicans. In the state of Kansas, no real change there. Kentucky, no change there either. You could see a tighter margin in the 6th district here with Andy Barr. It could be closer, but I think he'll do fine in Kentucky. Louisiana, once again, no real change there. Maine. Now, Maine is interesting. You could see a flip in the 2nd district. Jared Golden, he won it by a good percent, but I do think that it'll be closer than what some people think, but I think he will hold it in Maine. In Maryland, no change there. In Massachusetts, no change there either. And in Michigan, you will see a change here. In the state of Michigan, the incumbent lost in the primary, Justin Amash. I think the Republicans pick up this seat. I think that they do it in Michigan. They do pick up the seat there in Michigan. And then nothing really else changing there in the state of Michigan. In the state of Minnesota, I do think that Hagedorn will hold, but by the skin of his teeth. He'll barely hold the seat, but he will hold the seat in the 1st district. Colin Peterson has been there a long time. He beat. I think he's going to win, but barely, and I think you could definitely see a chance where this flips into the Republican column. But for now, as this is my final projection, I am going to say that Colin Peterson holds on, but barely. He's going to barely hold on there in Minnesota. In the state of Mississippi, no real change here in the state of Mississippi. I don't really see anything changing there in Mississippi. In the state of Missouri, once again, nothing changing there. Montana could be close. Actually, in the state of Missouri, there is a House seat that's up for grabs that I had written down, but I forgot to mention it. So in the state of Missouri, I do think that Wagner will hold on there by a likely margin. In the state of Montana, I think this could be close. I think the Republican turnout will be high just because Donald Trump's on the ballot, but I think that Kathleen Williams could win this race. But for right now, I'm putting it tilt Republican because I do think the Republicans will hold on there in the state of Montana. In the state of Nebraska, in the 2nd district, Kara Eastman, just not that good. She's actually a Bernie bro, and I do think that Don Beacon will hold there in the state of Nebraska, and the Republicans will hold that seat. In the state of Nevada, I think James Merchant Jr. has a shot, and he makes it closer than some expect. I think that he could make it closer there, but Stephen Horsford will hold on there in the state of Nevada. In the state of New Hampshire, I think James Merchant, if it'll flip over here, this is kind of I really think that this is a big thing in the state of New Hampshire. Papa's is doing well. Polls have him down. Those are the same polls that have him Trump down by 8 in New Hampshire, which isn't true. I'm going to go off on a limb, and I think Matt Moses is going to flip that district, and I really think it's possible, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. It is a pretty bold projection, but I think he will do it. In the District of New Jersey, the 2nd District, I think the Republicans will hold on there. In the 2nd District of New Jersey, Jeff Van Drew, pretty favorable, but I think he will hold on there in the state of New Jersey. All of these are close, and I think that they could all flip to the Republicans, the Democrats, but it's going to be close. The 2nd District in New Mexico, I think Harrell, it's weird because New Mexico wins mainly because of remarks about oil. Torres Small was crazy on the Biden, the fracking, and I think that Yavete Harrell will win the state in New Mexico, will win that state in New Mexico there, and the Republicans do gain that seat. In the state of New York, some potential flips here. Peter King retired, but I do think that the Republicans will hold that seat. You really don't see any margin changing there. Max Rose, I think that Max Rose holds on his seat, but barely. I think he'll win it. Actually, I think he'll win it by around 1 to 2 points there. Anthony Berezney, I really think that Claudia Tenney will flip this seat. I think she can do it. She's looking really good in some polls I've seen, and I think she will flip that seat. John Katko, I think he'll hold on for the Republicans, but once again, it's going to be close. All of these are going to be close. It's coming down really, really close. In North Carolina, I don't really see anything changing here in North Carolina. You could say that G.K. Butterfield might be closer, and I really think that David Cawthorn will be a likely margin other than just a tilt margin, so that's pretty much all I see there in North Carolina. North Dakota, no change in North Dakota. Ohio, I think here in the 1st District, where you see Shabbat will hold on. I think Trump will carry him to the victory, probably by around 2 points there in the state of Ohio, and they will hold on to that seat in the state of Ohio. Now, if we look at Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, as we're getting closer and closer here, Oklahoma, the 5th District, people say that Kendra Horn will hold on, but oil is going to be a big blow for her, and she's been trying to walk away from the Biden-Harris ticket, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and I do think that Stephanie Bice, will flip that seat to the Republican column there in Oklahoma. In the state of Oregon, I'm going to go bold here. The 4th District of Oregon, Alex Skalaropoulos, if I say that correctly, I think he has a shot. But I think that he is going to flip the seat. I'm going to go out on bold. This is my bold prediction of the night. He had a terrific ad that played, and I'm just standing by the fact he's going to flip that seat. So don't hold me against it if it's not right, but I do think he's going to flip it. All right, in the state of Pennsylvania, I think that Scott Perry holds in the state of Pennsylvania. Scott Perry holds his seat, and Connor Lamb holds his seat, but barely. I think it's going to be closer than some expect there in Pennsylvania. So there's your states in Pennsylvania. Rhode Island, no change there. South Carolina. I think that Nancy Mace will flip the seat. Joe Cunningham is just not favorable in South Carolina. I think that Trump won the district by like 13.1% in 2016, and Republicans did not get out to vote in South Carolina in the midterms. So I think that Nancy Mace, with Donald Trump on the ticket, will win that seat and flip it. In the state of Texas, as we go to Texas here, or rather South Dakota, we have a few things. I don't see anything changing in South Dakota. Tennessee, nothing changing in Tennessee. And now we're in the state of Texas. Texas, we have a few open seats here. I do think that Daniel Crenshaw will hold by a solid margin. I don't even think it's going to be close. He's just a really great guy. Roy, as we look down here, Chip Roy, he will hold his seat by a likely margin, in my opinion. I think he'll do it pretty well there in the 21st. Pete Olson, I think that Pete Olson, who actually got beat in his primary, and I think this is a Democratic gain. I think the Democrats will gain this seat in this election, and Texas 24th will be held by Beth. Beth DeWine will win the Texas 24th district there in the state of Texas. So 204, 229 here. Utah, the 4th district will go to Burgess Owens. I think he will win it. it's going to be pretty easily, in my opinion, as a lot of people will get out to vote for Trump, and they'll see a Republican on the ballot. So that will go to the Republicans. And in the state of Vermont, no real changes there. In the state of Virginia, one race is open, which is the 5th district, and I think that Bob Good, as he was endorsed by Trump, it'll be close, but Bob Good will win and keep and actually flip that seat. Actually, he beat out Denver Riggleman, and he will win the seat in Virginia. In the state of Washington, we will see probably no change there in Washington. I do think that the 3rd district here with Jamie Era Butler will be close. I think that Karen Long could flip that district, so be careful about that one. We'll be watching that one. West Virginia, no change. Wisconsin, no change. I do think that the 3rd district, which will be very close, Ron Kind, it'll be close with some respects. So I'll put that in a tilt. Republicans could gain that seat. And in Wyoming, no change there in Wyoming. So that's my final House projection. The Republicans do gain, but the Democrats hold the House at 229 to 206. But the Republicans do gain in the House more seats than they did in the past midterms. So that's my House projection. And with that, we will be taking a break, and we will move over into the Senate projections. So we're going to take a quick break and head over to the Senate projections. All right, here now looking at the Senate projections. This is your final Senate projection from Legacy Politics, as tomorrow is Election Day, and we'll start filling out all the safe Senate seats. Oregon going for the Democrats, Illinois going for the Democrats, New Hampshire safe, Massachusetts safe, Rhode Island safe, New Jersey safe, Delaware safe. And now for the solid Republican states, I do think Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas. Well, we'll come back to Kansas. Actually, I do think Kansas will be solid, contrary to some beliefs. They will win it by over 10 points. Oklahoma, solid Democrat. Arkansas, solid Democrat. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia, all solid for the Republicans. So these are all the states that are up for grabs here in this election cycle. Texas will be solid for the Republicans as well. Excuse me, forgot about the Republicans. Freaking Ted Cruz. All right, so all of these will be the states that we'll be looking at more closely. We'll start from going left to right. We'll start in Alaska. I think the Republicans will hold here in Nebraska. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. Sullivan is getting outgained significantly, but money isn't a vote, and I think that with Donald Trump on the ballot, the Republicans will hold there in the state of Alaska. I said Arizona, but it is Alaska. All right, in the state of Arizona, McSally and Kelly will be one of the closest races of the night. Probably won't even be called till later in the night. Actually, Kelly for the Democrats is actually an astronaut, which is actually kind of helpful for him, believe it or not. It seemed like the Democrats were for sure going to win this seat a few months ago, but McSally's really, really gained. But I don't think it's going to be enough, and I do think the Democrats will hold this seat in Arizona by a tilt margin. It's going to be really close. It's going to cut out of the wire, but the Democrats will hold that seat. In the state of New Mexico, Lujan looking good here in New Mexico. I think that like Ranchetti, the challenger, is like a weatherman or something in New Mexico. But the polls are like showing him outgaining Trump in New Mexico. I don't see it. I think the Democrats hold by a lean margin, probably around 4 to 5 points there in New Mexico. Colorado looking good for the Democrats. I think the Democrats' turnout in solid blue states will be significant. I think that in solid blue states, the Democrat turnout will be significant, and they will vote down ballot, so I do think that the Democrats will hold the seat in Colorado by a likely margin. In the state of Iowa, actually Montana, let's go to Montana, because we're going left to right. Montana, Bullock, who's the challenger to Steve Daines, actually endorsed court packing a few days ago, so that's never good if you're trying to win a Senate seat in a solid red state. So I do think that Daines will win the state in Montana by a lean margin, probably around 4 to 5 points there in Montana. In the state of Iowa polling is always awful, but one poll came out that showed it is consistently right, and it had Ernest up by 7, so I think she holds on in Iowa for the Republicans. Probably by a likely margin there in the state of Iowa. Jason Lewis is a strong candidate in Minnesota. He really is. He's a great candidate, and I think he'll do well. I think it really depends on how Trump does in the state. I think it's a sleeper flip for the Republicans. But for my final projection, I am going to say that the Democrats will hold on by a tilt margin. I think it's going to be really close. Polls are coming out all over the place where it has like Smith plus 10, Smith plus 3, then Smith plus 1. So I think that Smith will hold, but I do think it's a sleeper flip for the Republicans. In the state of Michigan, John James will win the state of Michigan. I'm marking that down. I think the Republicans will flip the state of Michigan. I think that this was going to be a Senate flip, and I think it's going to stun a lot of people. John James will win. This is my mark it down for the Senate. Everybody's saying, well, I think he's going to win, but I'm going to say Democrat. But I'm going to say I think he's going to win, and I'm going to say Republican, and they will hold on to that seat in the state of Michigan. So as we look over just a few states left, Georgia, Purdue will probably win, probably by 4 to 5 points there in Georgia. The special election will most likely be a runoff, so we can't really call that for right now. But in South Carolina, a lot of Democrats thinking they're going to flip Lindsey seat. I don't see it. I don't even think that's possible. So right now the Republicans at 50. In North Carolina, I think Tillis is going to hold on there in North Carolina, and he will win the state of North Carolina. It's going to be super close, but I think he will win probably by around less than 2 points, maybe less than 1 point, but I think he will win. Virginia looking good for the Democrats. I think that it's going to be a likely margin for the Democrats there in Virginia. In Maine, Susan Collins has a shot. I really do think she has a shot. However, Maine does have a ranked choice voting. Collins will probably win the first ballot, but not the second, and that's why the Democrats will hold the seat in Maine by a tilt margin. So 51 to 48, and if I had to guess right now, I think the special election will go to the Republicans by a tilt margin. So that'll be a runoff. Probably won't be decided till January. So I think for right now, the Republicans hold the Senate 52 to 48 there in Senate seats. We're getting that flip in Michigan, and possibly could get the flip in Minnesota, which would have them have the same House as they do have now. But I think that Minnesota will go to the Democrats. So guys, thank you so much for watching this section, and we will get into what you all been waiting for, which is the final presidential election right after this quick break here on Legacy Politics. All right, here now on Legacy Politics with my final presidential election projection. That was kind of a mouthful. Presidential election projection. Here we go, guys. This is the final time I do this for the 2020 election. Donald J. Trump and Mike R. Pence versus Joseph R. Biden and Kamala D. Harris. This is my final projection for the presidential election. I didn't fill out any safe states because I wanted to go through it all. I wanted to go through it, every single bit of it, and show you why I think who I think which candidate is going to win this election. We're going to be looking at some data. We're also going to be looking at 2016. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you who I think is going to win. And at the end of this video, I'll also tell you who I endorse and why I think that candidate has to win. All right, so here we go. Let's start by filling out the safe states for the Democrats, and we'll start up in the left on the West Coast. Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, all going to Joe Biden. New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, and the state of Hawaii, and District 1 in Maine, all solid for the Democrats. Now the solid states for Donald John Trump: Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska's at large, District 1, District 3, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Alaska. And like we've been seeing throughout all these projections over the past few months, these are the states that are going to determine the election. I want to first start out by talking about the likely states for both candidates, and Joe Biden has more likely states than Donald Trump does. So we'll start by filling out Joe Biden's likely states, and we'll start over here at Virginia. Virginia will go to Joe Biden by a likely margin. He'll probably win it by 8 points. 8-point win for Joe Biden in the state of Virginia. He will win Colorado by a likely margin there. In the state of Colorado, probably around 9.6 points, just under the solid margin. And in the state of New Mexico, he will win the state of New Mexico by a likely margin as well. I have said that this could be a sleeper flip for a long time, but COVID really dampened his Donald Trump's chance at flipping the state of New Mexico. For Donald Trump's safe states, the only safe state I have Donald Trump in is, or likely state, is the state of Iowa. That'll go to Donald Trump by a likely margin. Many people think that Joe Biden can flip the state, but I just don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. First off, we just look back at the Iowa caucuses. First of all, Joe Biden was abysmal in the Iowa caucuses for the Democrats, and Donald Trump outperformed everybody in the Iowa caucuses. Those are all raw votes. But if you look at target early and mail-in voting, and you could look at this and say, well, Legacy, this looks good for Democrats, but it really doesn't. They're leading in Iowa, but it's not by that much. 914,000 votes counted in Iowa. If we look in Iowa in 2016, Donald Trump won it by around 10 points, and he gained 800,000 votes and has 385,000 here. He's going to win the state. Don't worry about it. He's going to win it by a likely margin there in the state of Iowa. So let's go into the lean margins, the leans for both candidates. Starting with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will win Ohio by a lean margin. I think it'll be closer than I've thought. I think that Ohio will go to the president by a lean margin, just under a likely margin. If we look in here at the mail-in voting, Republicans looking great, leading by over 200,000 votes there. The Democrats would have to be leading mail-in voting to have a shot at the state, in my opinion. Not really likely for them to win the state there in Ohio. Donald Trump should hold on there by around 5 to 6 points in Ohio, just under the 7 mark, which would be a likely. He will also win Texas by a likely lean margin. He'll win it by 5 points in my book. People say that Texas is going to flip Democrat. I just don't understand how you can see that. First off, if we just look at mail-ins alone, the Democrats would have to make up 1 million votes on Election Day. They're down 11%, over 1 million votes on Election Day, which is very unlikely because most Republicans are going to go out and vote on Election Day. In 2016, Donald Trump won the state of Texas by over 1 million votes. He got 4 million votes, and right now he's already over that in 2020. So I think you're going to see a huge Republican turnout in Texas, in the state of Texas. But if we look at Democrats, or rather registered party, they don't register party in Texas for those. But if you look at voter score, first-time voter is down in Texas, and the super voter is down, but the frequent voter is pretty much the same there in the state of Texas, which Donald Trump will hold on to by a likely margin. Also by a likely margin, Joe Biden will win the state of Maine by a likely margin. Right now, I just really can't see Donald Trump flipping the state of Maine as far as the at-large goes. But Donald Trump will hold on to the state, the 2nd district in Maine, by a likely margin as well in the 2nd district of Maine, as we look at that, 188 to 212. Another likely, or am I in lean or likely? I'm in likely. I'll cut that. Another likely margin for Donald Trump is Florida. Believe it or not, Florida will go to Donald Trump in a likely margin, probably by 3 points. The Democrats would have to be leading by 600,000 votes to be winning, to have a shot at winning Florida. Right now, the Democrats are actually losing in Florida. If we look at Model Party, the Republicans are leading in mail-in voting in Florida, which is unheard of, as much as the Democrats have been pushing it, and most Republicans will go out and vote on Election Day. So Donald Trump will hold the state of Florida, his home state. He will hold the state of Georgia by a likely margin. Georgia is actually looking better for Democrats since my last prediction, but I do think that Donald Trump will hold there in the state of Georgia. He won it by around, I think it was 4 points. 5 points in 2016. I think that will be closer, and it'll be a lean margin for Donald Trump. The state of North Carolina, we'll get to in a minute. So these are all the lean states for both candidates. And now we'll get into the real meat, which is the tilt states, and we'll start over on the West Coast at Nevada. Guys, Nevada is a sleeper flip. I'm not even joking. Nevada is looking great for Republicans right now, and even CNN is admitting it. Republicans are right behind the Democrats in mail-in voting. Now, if we look at counties, which the county that Donald Trump has to do better in is Clark County. Let's look at Clark County right now. The Democrats leading by around 90,000 votes there in Clark County, which isn't abysmal, which that is not terrible for Republicans, because in Nevada in 2016 in Clark County, they lost the election by 70,000 votes, or around there. Yeah, they lost it by 70,000 votes, and right now they're down 90,000 votes, but that can be gained on election day. Donald Trump got 320,000 votes on election day 2016. Right now he's at 307,000 votes. That's not bad, but it is a sleeper flip. But I think that Joe Biden will hold on by a tilt margin there in the state of Nevada. In the state of Arizona, looking great, looking really good for Republicans. Actually, the Real Clear Politics average has Donald Trump leading, or going to win the state of Arizona. They're leading in mail-in voting, which is unheard of. This is unheard of. The Republicans are actually leading in mail-in voting. As much as the Democrats have been pushing mail-in voting, and as much as Donald Trump has been against it, the Republicans are leading in all of these states. It's just going to be hard for Joe Biden to win this election. Right now, no Democrat has really gotten over 45.1% there in the 2016. Hillary Clinton didn't get over it. I don't see Joe Biden getting over it, and I do think that Donald Trump will hold on in the state of Arizona and keep that state in his column. In the state of North Carolina, I do think that Donald Trump will hold the state, and if you can look at 2016, he won it by around 3 points there in 2016. I do think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to go down to the wire, actually. It's going to be close. I do think Donald Trump will hold on. He has to hold on, as Democrats leading there by just around 27,000 votes in the state of North Carolina, 2,059 votes, and he got 2,362,000 votes, 2,139,000 votes. I mean, we're getting to 2016 numbers with all these mail-in votes, and it's not even election day yet. So, I don't know, guys. It's going to be close in North Carolina. I do think that Donald Trump will hold on. I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to win it by the skin of his teeth. It's probably going to be less than a point there in the state of North Carolina. And in the state of Nebraska's 2nd District, looking good for Donald Trump. I do think he's going to hold on in Nebraska's 2nd District by around less than a point, just like he did in 2016. Joe Biden isn't even really going there a lot. I don't think he's been there in the past month, at least. At least Joe Biden hasn't. Donald Trump just went there just a couple days ago, and I do think he's going to hold that state. So we're 260 to 218 here in the presidential election. Let's go to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a long time. I've said that Donald Trump will flip the state. I don't see it now. Joe Biden will hold on by a tilt margin. It's going to be close. It's going to be really close. Donald Trump can flip it, but I do think that Joe Biden will flip the state of New Hampshire. So, guys, as we look back at my last video, the Rust Belt, where the race will be won, and it's showing that 260 to 222. It's all coming down to the Rust Belt. It's all coming down to the Rust Belt. I mean, I just don't see another way it's not coming down. Joe Biden's going to have to win all 4 of these states. Donald Trump is only going to have to win 1. And I'll show you my projection right now. And this is my final projection of how the Rust Belt's going to go. And we'll start with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is not looking good for the Republicans. It's looking, in the mail-in voting, for sure it's not looking good. The Democrats are extending their lead over the Republicans, almost getting above 1 million advantage point. Now, it doesn't mean it's over, because there was around 5 million votes in 2016, but we're almost half that, and the Republicans are going to have to make up 1 million votes on Election Day. Can they do it? Yes. Can they do it? They absolutely can do it. But for right now, I'm going to put Joe Biden winning the state of Pennsylvania in his column. Now let's go to the state of Minnesota. Minnesota is a potential sleeper flip for Donald Trump. He's been going there a lot. He really thinks he has a shot at the state. If we look at mail-in voting in the state of Minnesota and early voting, Republicans not down by a much there in Minnesota. 737, 516, 1,623 votes there in the state of Minnesota. Around 1,700 votes in the state of Minnesota 2,700 votes in last cycle. That means there's only about 1 million votes left, and most Republicans will go out and vote on Election Day. And I do think that Donald Trump is going to flip the state of Minnesota. I really do think he's going to do it. He's going to flip the state of Minnesota and win Minnesota, and he's going to stun everybody and win the state of Minnesota. Now, in the state of Wisconsin is going to go down to the wire. And I've been saying on a lot of these elections that Donald Trump can easily win the state if he just strengthens his base in these counties. And that's what he's doing. He actually had a rally in Clayton County or Clayton County and Delaware County and Durbin County, somewhere around there in Iowa, just last night, I believe. And that is the counties where Donald Trump is going to have to improve if he wants to win the state. See, all this is like light red. He's going to have to do solid red if he wants to win the state, but also do very well in the WOW counties. And can he do that? I think he can. But let's also look at early voting in the state of Wisconsin. In the state of Wisconsin, the Republicans are just down 30,000 votes in Wisconsin. That's unheard of. 1,833,000 votes cast in the state of Wisconsin. And in 2016, there were 2,700 votes. So that means there's about 1 million votes left. And like I said before, most Republicans will go out and vote on Election Day. That is, most people going for Trump will go out and vote on Election Day. There was a poll that came out that said over 50% of Biden voters have already voted, and not even 30% of Trump voters have already voted. That is a significant number. That means the Donald Trump voters are all waiting on Election Day to go vote, and he's still portraying these numbers. Donald Trump will win the state of Wisconsin, and he will win that state and hold on there. He'll probably win it by more than 1 point, and I'm not even joking. He'll probably win it by 1.2 points in the state of Wisconsin. In the state of Michigan, looking very good in the state of Michigan. In the state of Michigan, as we look here in the state of Michigan, looking good for Democrats. They're leading by around 200,000 votes. 2,869,000 votes have been cast in the state of Michigan in 2016. They were around 4 million votes cast, so probably around 1,200 votes left, or excuse me, 1,200,000 votes left. Man, guys, the Republicans are right there. They're right there. A Trafalgar poll came out and showed Donald Trump winning the state, and I do think he's going to do it. I think he's going to win the state of Michigan as well. And I think he's going to win this election. I do think it. I really believe it. He's going to win this election 296 to 242. Donald Trump wins the election 296 to 242, holding 3 out of the 4 states in the Rust Belt and holding the states that he needs to hold to win this election: Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania's going to Joe Biden 296 to 242. I'm just going to do this just so we can see this as a non-tilt, nothing like that, just so you can see the map as it will be released on election night. So this is the map. I have my final projection, and like I said, I'm just going to do this just because I don't want it to be tilt, because this is a final projection. This is what's going to happen, and they're not going to have it solid blue, likely blue, whatever. It's going to be solid, and it's because he won it, and this is when I think the election is going to happen. So fill out the rest of these. So guys, this is what I think is going to happen: 296 to 242. The election will be won by Donald Trump by the skin of his teeth, but he will hold on to re-election and stay in office for 4 more years. This is my final projection here from Legacy Politics. Stay tuned just for a few more minutes as I tell you who I endorse as president and why I think he must win. So those are my final projections. The Democrats hold the House 296 to 206. The Republicans hold the Senate 52 to 48. And Donald J. Trump wins the White House 296 to 242. Those are my final projections, and that's what I think is going to happen tomorrow night. But I want to talk to you just as Dima Mixon. That's my name. I'm going to talk to you as Dima Mixon, and I'm going to talk to you and tell you who I endorse and why I think that this candidate has to win the White House tomorrow night. And I endorse Donald John Trump. I think he has to win the White House. Guys, this is coming down to the most important election of our lifetime. For me, I'm an outspoken Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ has died for my sins, and I believe with that of all of my heart, and that one day he will come and destroy all evil in this world. And I do think that as a Christian, I have to stand with the candidate who best upholds my values. And Donald J. Trump has done that. He has stand against gay marriage. He has stood against abortion. He has stood against all the evil things that the Democrats are pushing. Abortion at the sake of crowning. And he has fought for America more than any other president that I've ever seen. He has fought for America in these trade deals. He has gone to work against China. He has gone to work against Vladimir Putin. He has stopped a missile crisis in the state of North Korea. He went and on North Korean soil and met with Kim Jong-un. That is unheard of. But more than that, he has stabilized peace in the Middle East. He has stood up for Israel. There's just countless things that Donald Trump has done. But I want you to understand that I'm not the biggest fan of the president. I mean, he says some things that I don't necessarily agree with. And if I was voting for like a neighbor, I would probably vote for Joe Biden because he seems like a very nice guy. But it also occurred to me the other day that we're voting on more than just a president. We're voting on a vice president. And Mike Pence is an outspoken Christian. He got so much hate for saying that he would not go out with a woman if his wife was not present from the liberal media. He is by far the best vice president of the job. And whether or not Donald Trump gets elected tomorrow night or Joe Biden gets elected, both of them would be the oldest presidents ever to be elected in formal office. So it is very likely that, for sure more likely that one of them, if not both of them, does not make it the 4 years. So we'll have a vice president. And you really want Kamala Harris as president of this country. She is the most left liberal senator out of everything. And you're telling me that Mike Pence would not be a good president. He'd be a great president. So we're voting on not only a president, but we're also voting on a vice president. So as for me, a Christian, the choice cannot be clear. That Donald Trump has long stood up for my values as a Christian, and that Mike Pence has for sure stood up for my values as a Christian as well. So I fully endorse Donald John Trump and Mike R. Pence for President of the United States tomorrow night. So go vote. Go vote. And you may disagree with me, but I fully endorse Donald J. Trump as president tomorrow night for the presidential election. But for really quickly, before we end this video, I want to pray. I just want to pray really quickly for whatever happens tomorrow night, that God's will be done. So just bow your heads with me as we pray. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for letting us come here together, Lord, just to talk about the political issues. Lord, we pray that your will be done in this election tomorrow night. Lord, I know I may surprise some people with outspoking my faith this way on my political channel, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to take hate from it, and I understand that. But I stand with you, Lord. I stand that you are the light of this country. We were founded upon you, God. I pray that your will be done in this election. I pray that whether or not it be Donald Trump that is in office for the next 4 years or Joe Biden that's in office for the next 4 years, I pray that you'll work through each man. I pray that your will be done in this country, God, and that, Lord, we as Christians will strengthen our faith no matter what happens tomorrow night. And Lord, I pray for that everything, the civil unrest, Lord, that it's just everything is calm tomorrow night. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I will have a video on Thursday, and we will be continuing to have videos even after the election. So guys, please leave a like to this video. Please hit post notification bells as we are here. And please follow my Twitter account at Legacy Politics. Please follow my Instagram account at Legacy Politics as well. That is where you're going to be hearing my analysis from the election results tomorrow night. So guys, enjoy your Monday, and enjoy Election Day in America tomorrow. Legacy Politics signing out.